Now then, guys, welcome back to the Cycle Sunday podcast. Now then, Paul, today we have another guest. You are trying out your road desk. Who is that lovely lady sat next to you?
This is Natalie. Now, Natalie is now Natalie Stewart,
Yes.
who is married to Keith Stewart, who is kind of our right-hand man for the store. He's endured us the longest. He's an absolutely wonderful guy. And more importantly, he basically knows the Shimano parts catalogue without looking at the Shimano parts catalogue. He is tech number one. And Natalie used to be Natalie Milne. And I will actually let Natalie tell her about herself. Are the words in there? Yes.
Tell us about herself.
Tell us about herself.
Well, anyway, welcome to the podcast, Natalie.
Yay.
Hi.
Because there's a very, very good reason that you are here, and I am super excited to find out more about you.
Yes, so I'm Natalie Milne Stewart, and I was a professional triathlete.
There we go. So we're kind of doing an Olympic special.
Yes.
Because I'm pretty sure anyone listening to this is glued to the Olympics at the moment. And this last week, we've clearly had some amazing success in Team GB.
Yeah.
And a lot of that is based around some of the biking disciplines. And then next week, we start going inside to the velodrome. And I guess we've got things like BMX and a whole bunch of other stuff coming. So there's some really exciting things. So we thought we wanted to get you on the podcast for a while, actually. Because we have talked about you a couple of times, because it's not often you have a kind of tame Commonwealth Games athlete that we can pick your brains and find out how to become elite. Not that Paul and I would ever be able to do that, but so I guess let's start with a bit of background about you. So you were a professional triathlete, but where did you start? How did you get into triathlon? In the first place?
So I started from a swimming background, swam from the age of 4 and up to the age of 16, and swam every day. Not at the time, it wasn't early morning swimming, it was all evening swimming after school. And I lived in Kinross, so we travelled to Perth, so 15-20 minutes down the road.
Right, okay.
And then at high school, one of my teachers, who's still at the high school, he was doing training for triathlon at the time, Ironman distance. So, the big one. I don't know how anybody can do an Ironman. It's just, anyway, that's a whole nother topic of conversation.
It's one of the things I would love to do, just to say I've done one, but the training would be it's a killer.
Yes. The thought of doing a marathon after having ridden 112 miles. Ugh.
And the scary thing is you're an ex-elite athlete and you think it's horrible, so that's not a good start.
Well, yeah. Anyway, so a teacher at school got me to eventually manage to pin me down and said, why don't you enter the Scottish Schools Triathlon? So at the time it was down in Galashiels, so it was swimming in a pool, and then it was off-road mountain biking, and then it was a run. And then kind of got hooked a little bit from that. So I entered another race through in Fife, but this time it was on the road. But again, I still had my heavy mountain bike, which I would describe as rubbish and heavy.
And not bought from Criterium Cycles.
Not bought from Criterium Cycles, so it was just rubbish. So I did that and finished. I finished last, like I was last across the line, but actually I wasn't last on the results. And that's when I got cornered by performance coach and said, would you like to try out for the performance squads? And that's how I got into triathlon. But being a swimmer, or coming from a swimming background, I had done cross country at school and done quite well at that, but my focus was swimming, not running and swimming. So when I got back into running and started to pick up the miles, I got quite a lot of lower leg injuries, especially shin splints. And I just couldn't, for ages, I just couldn't work out a way to get better. So then I took some time out, and did some mountain bike races, Scottish cross country mountain bike races, which I really loved, but they're really hard, like really hard, and that helped me in two ways. It got me fit, but also my skills became so much better on a bike. And then because I was enjoying riding my bike, and entered some criteriums and entered a few road races. So that's how I got fitter. And then from that, I then decided, no, actually, I quite like triathlon. I like cycling, but I also like swimming, and I also like cycling, and I like running. So why don't I give this a shot? And was back on performance squads 2011, and then just one thing led to another, and just got fitter and better, and yeah.
And where did you end up? Because I think you're kind of downplaying how good you were.
Commonwealth Games, Glasgow 2014.
Wow.
My first World Series race, which is now the World.
It's the ITU now, isn't it? The ITU World Series?
World Champion.
World Champion, yes.
It's got some
Yes.
long mangle name.
Yes.
The first one I did there, I led out the swim, which I was like swimming along, and then I was like, there's no way I'm leading this race. Like, surely, like, there's somebody, but no, I came out the water first, and Keith was there, and that's his first big race. And my mum and dad were out there, and they were top of the hill. It was in Kitzbühel, and they couldn't believe that, my first World Series race, and I'm leading the front. So yeah.
Wow.
World University Games back in 2016. And I was lucky enough to be sponsored by Criterium at that time, so I had a nice bike to ride and did it justice. So yeah.
Wow. I mean, it's amazing because I've done a triathlon. Okay, so let's just put that into. I did an Olympic distance triathlon. I did a marathon, and I thought, okay, well, the running bit is my problem is my swimming isn't the best. So I had swimming lessons because I could swim breaststroke really well, but I'd never been able to get the breathing right with front crawl and stuff. And I had, yeah, exactly. Yeah, exactly.
So I say to myself,
kind of got the swim. I got the swimming thing okay in a pool, but I found it really hard to swim open water. I couldn't put my face in the water. I don't know whether it was an internal panicky thing, but all I can remember when I did the London Triathlon, and when we got in the water, and it was like swimming in a scene from the Titanic. There was just this flailing mass of bodies and stuff. Someone swam over me.
Yep.
And I can imagine in that kind of when you're so close to each other, there must be some, obviously not words said, but a bit of tugging here,
yes,
and it's a bit of argy bargy.
The raced on French Grand Prix series circuit, and I remember one race there was a girl swimming, and she was in my way, so I kind of like cut her up. The next thing I know, she's pulling me by the swimming costume, by the tri-suit, pulled me back. So I was like, right, okay, I've had enough of this. Swam up to her and then dunked her and then carried on. So I was like, well, if you're going to pull me back, I'm going to dunk you. So I just made sure I swam really quickly. But like, that's what's different about swimming in a pool to swimming open water. I can't really remember having gone from swimming in a pool to swimming open water. I'm not daunted by the darkness, not daunted by fish. But now I'm a bit like, oh, it's cold. But that's different. But at the time when I was training, I wasn't bothered. I quite happily go into some open water. But yeah, it's totally different when you get a dark loch, you can't see anything.
Yeah.
No. I mean, I did some training in the sea, and I don't know what it was. So I ended up doing the swim bit. I ended up reverting back to breaststroke, which is not a great way to do the opening bit of a triathlon. But so what, as a triathlete, so you've gone from swimming into triathlon, so swimming, biking, and then the running bit. I guess the interesting thing about that, because there's three sports, you'll get people that may have done, I don't know, they started running and then got into the biking and swimming bit. Is there which of the three do you think is the most important to be really good at? I know you've probably got to be good at all three to be an elite level, but is the one that is generally the most difficult to nail?
Swimming, just so technical. It's just, if you can't swim technically, then you're just never gonna, like, I don't know if you'll have had a wetsuit on at London, but there's a difference between swimming in a wetsuit to not swimming in a wetsuit, and that buoyancy in a wetsuit helps those swimmers that are weaker. So that's why sometimes in races that you'll have seen on TV, there's, especially in a women's race, there'll be big gaps because when they're swimming non-wetsuit and then when they're swimming wetsuit, there'll be smaller gaps because it kind of equals out the playing field a bit.
Yeah. No, I did. I had a wetsuit, and then obviously that makes the transition and then the transition
It's really long and up
because
steps.
I guess. Yeah,
Yeah, I've done London a few
It's,
times.
well, the fact you're swimming in the XL pond next door is not.
Well,
great.
my uncle, when I first did it, said, "Oh, because he worked for the police, serious and organised crime," and he's like, "Yeah, you don't want to know how many dead bodies I pulled out of this." I was like, "That's not what I want to hear." I think he was joking, but it's still not what I wanted to hear.
They're probably all triathletes.
Probably.
Yeah, exactly. So when you're kind of, because it'd be really cool to obviously be watching the Olympics at the moment, and one of the things I wanted to kind of pick your brains at is you watch these incredible athletes, and they're at the peak of their powers, and they've had this training plan, and they've peaked and tapered perfectly for that event, but that takes so much planning and organizing. And when you hear about people saying, "Oh, I want to kind of peak for a particular competition," how do you put your training plan together for something like like for you, like the Commonwealth Games?
So my training plan, because I knew I had a specific job to do, I'd made sure, because it was home games, I could go and recce the course. I could go and ride the bike course. So that was part of my training plan, was like, let's go and ride this course. Let's know every hill. Let's know every corner. Let's know where I'm going to go fast, where I'm going to have to put a bit more effort in. And same with the run course. And the swim is just open water. But that's part of the training plan, is getting to know the course. I'd do that quite a lot for places I hadn't been before. I'd try and Google map it, with the little man, to try and see.
Yeah.
But it's kind of hard because you can't really tell the inclines as such. But with triathlon, they give you a race briefing, or they give you a document so you can see. They'll sometimes give you an elevation profile, but it's not the same as going and training on it as specifically. Like for some races, if I knew it was hilly, I'd specifically go and do hill reps. It's just stuff like that, just trying to be specific to that race as possible.
Yeah. And I guess for an Olympic distance triathlon, do you have to worry about feeding and drinking and stuff that much, with it being a relatively short distance?
Yeah, so I tended to, for Olympics that I did, I'd have one bottle of hypotonic and one bottle of isotonic, so that I had some isotonic and some had, is it hypotonic?
Hypertonic is your massive boost of electrolyte.
Yeah.
And then your isotonic is the stuff that's basically just entering the bloodstream very quickly. Yeah.
And I had stuff with energy and stuff without energy.
Yeah.
And then I'd have a gel that would take towards the end of the bike, but that would be it.
Yeah.
And then for a sprint triathlon, you just literally have a bottle, because you're only racing for an hour, so you're not needing to fuel yourself for 3, 4, 5 hours.
Yeah. And when you, in terms of your training and stuff, were you doing brick sessions and things, or would you just train on each individual element on its own, or a bit of both?
A bit of both. So we'd do swim bikes. So swimming, doing like basically 400 meters max, and then getting out and either riding our bikes outside, because I was at the University of Stirling at the time. You got the nice hilly bike ride you can do, or we do it on rollers, and then bike to run bricks as well, and then obviously specific individual training.
Yeah, rollers is a biking skill that has so far passed me by.
Oh no!
And I think we'll continue to do that, because I would be the person that you see on YouTube trying to do rollers and then ending up flying across the room. Even if I was holding myself in the doorway, I just know I'd be rubbish at it.
It's not as hard as it looks. Well, it's not as hard as you think it is. Once you work out that it's all about balance, then yeah.
I guess actually one of the things we haven't talked, I mean, that's why I like these. So we've talked about kind of turbo training and using apps like Zwift and Peloton and watt bikes and things. We haven't actually talked about rollers much, because I know a few people that swear by them, because it's it's really great for your balance and your core, and you've got to constantly move your body to kind of stay in balance.
Well,
So where would roller training fit in a plan? If somebody wanted to get fit for a sporty, for a triathlon or something, when would you say actually rollers is a really good idea? Or would
Well,
you?
the key thing about rollers is the fact that it's basically a full body workout. So it's exactly as you said, Peter. It's doing your legs, it's doing your upper body. But that's the key thing. When you're on a turbo trainer, the bike is a lot more static. When you're on rollers, the bike will move laterally with you as well. So you're working, as you quite rightly said, you're working the core, you're working your upper body, and also the sort of resistance of the roller as well is a lot more realistic to the resistance that you get on the road because both wheels are turning.
Yeah,
You can get rollers with resistance built in now.
You
as
can,
well.
yeah, you get smart rollers, can't you? Yeah.
It's just easy. Like if you wanted, often for some aquathons, so that's swimming and then running, I would take my bike along and do rollers as a warm up, just in case if there was nowhere really decent enough to warm up, like running wise. That's how I would do it. Just bring my bike, jump on the rollers, and just because you can get your legs. You can build up leg speed and you get your legs turning over relatively fast with relatively low resistance. Where on a turbo, you've always got that resistance.
Yeah.
Fighting against you as such.
Yeah. No, it's fascinating. So should we have a chat about the Olympics then? Because I don't know about you guys, but I've been glued to all the sports I like. So I've loved watching the cycling, but the one that made me laugh this morning, just before I was meant to go down to, because I'm staying away. For those of you watching on YouTube, I have the delights of a Premier Inn bedroom behind me. But I was due to go down to my breakfast this morning and just happened to be watching and ended up watching the canoe slalom.
Oh, right.
Which I thought was fascinating. And I thought, well, I've done a bit of kayaking in the past, so that was really good. Went down to breakfast and then came back and there was clay pigeon shooting on. And I just got sucked into watching the clay pigeon shooting. And I'm thinking, I need to leave for work now. And I just couldn't stop myself watching it. So I think the Olympics are great for making people watch stuff that they'd never, ever, ever watch at all. But for me, when you're watching the cycling, and there's a couple of events I think it'd be really cool to talk about. I think we should probably start with the triathlon, actually, the ladies' triathlon that was at the time of recording this just a couple of days ago, because the conditions were awful when it was really wet.
Yep.
And that must be, I mean, you could see even just going across the matting in transition, it was so wet, but the roads looked treacherous.
Yeah, I mean the bike handling of those girls was absolutely phenomenal, weren't they?
Yeah, it's something else. That's another thing is, if you can't ride your bike well, as in handling, then you're just going to be spat out the back, and that does show in races like that. Probably more so in the the World Series. But if you can't ride a bike well, if you're not confident riding your bike, then it definitely does show. And some of those girls just know how to ride a bike.
Yeah, you could kind of see the more confident one, especially in the cornering and stuff, because of the wet conditions. It probably just made it even worse, right? Because it's slippy and wet and dangerous.
Yeah, no, it is, and it's proper scary out there. I mean, anybody who's ridden this kind of that kind of terrain, and it was also quite a technical course as well, wasn't it? I mean, some of the corners that they were dropping into was a really bottlenecky type corner. It's really tight. And then they had all the barriers that was next to it. So there's just no runoff. There was nowhere for them to go. So, yeah, they did flip in brilliantly, frankly.
Yeah. And then obviously our girl that won got a flat.
Yeah, I think it might have been a different story if she hadn't had a flat. I think she maybe how good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I didn't see how far into the bike. Did she just carry on with a flat?
2 kilometres to go, was it not?
Yeah, 2K to go, and just got a flat. So
I rode past a wheel station and decided, no, actually, it's going to take me longer to change the wheel. I've only got 2K to go. If I can ride it carefully enough, I can get the bike to transition.
So you're riding in the wet, in the slippiness,
with a
flat tire.
Yeah,
it's just incredible, absolutely incredible.
Yeah,
but yeah, no, it was a top effort. And then it was did you see the men's one where they had the boat in the
Yes.
way when they
Oh my word.
started the race?
I was like, what?
I don't know how that. I don't understand how that even happened, but I felt sorry for the guys that were on the side of the pontoon that didn't have the boat in the way, because they obviously
Yeah.
went and then will have expended a whole bunch of energy, because it took them a while to get them to stop and come back.
Yes.
All the
yes.
adrenaline of used up, they've got to then get it back going again, and yeah. And
Yeah.
in the end, when
No.
the guy that won it, Christian Blumenfeld, I don't know if you saw it, he was spewing up.
Yes.
I mean, that just goes to show how hard he ran.
Yes.
Like, he just gave that his absolute all.
Yeah.
He was proper spewing.
Now, here's a controversial question.
Oh, here we go.
Blumenthal, you could see in his attitude, in the way he ran, in what happened at the end, where he literally finished, the way you could tell his emotions were, and then his body effectively ejected all of the fluids that had gone on board. You could tell that guy properly earned what I would classify as a gold medal. You know, you go to the Olympics, and if you can wake up the following day and say, there is nothing more I could have done on that day, irrespective of whether you come gold or whether you come last, you have done the best you could for your nation. Here's the question. Mr. Yi, when he came across the line, you almost got the impression that he had a little more to give. Yeah. You know, and is that just sometimes you, in the mind of an athlete, not being one, but in the mind of an athlete, do you look at a situation and go, there is absolutely no point me doing any more than I am doing at the moment, because even if I sent myself to a point where I'm going well into the red and beyond, I still can't catch that person. So am I worth reconciling my race to silver so I don't lose silver? Yeah. Is that fair?
No, that makes sense. I was going to actually put the words in my mouth.
Right.
That he's thought, if I go red, and if I go into the red trying to catch Christian, then effectively, maybe what happens if I blow up? What happens if 100 meters to go, I just have nothing to get, and third place comes past me? It's just, maybe Alex, he knew that he just didn't have it in the tank to catch him, and just, I'm quite happy with my first ever Olympics. I'm quite happy with a silver medal.
Yeah.
I mean, at that level, I mean, I guess the different, when someone like me or Paul, when we do, I don't know, sporty, when I did my triathlon, I had a time that I'd like to try and beat, and I ran really, really hard, but I didn't, I think the way that amateur athletes deal with pain and lactic acid and all those types of things is quite different from a professional athlete. The way that you can deal with suffering and pain and push yourself beyond where someone like me would go, I've had enough. How do you train your body to be able to do that? Because you don't get to a Commonwealth Games or be at that level without being able to suffer and being able to kind of understand where your body's going to be able to go into the red but not completely blow up.
I think it's doing training where you're going, putting yourself into that position and understanding that actually I will be okay after this and I will recover, and just making yourself hurt, making yourself uncomfortable, being comfortable, being comfortable, being uncomfortable was what I kind of used for the Commonwealth Games. Is that, you've got to be comfortable being uncomfortable, and we trained around that. I thought, I can't remember what it is. Just hurting, just learning to hurt, and accepting that it's just part of the plan.
I can't, because I was watching the men's time trial. And they were the commentary.
I
know. Oh yeah. I know. It's like, wipe your mouth,
he
man.
said, why would you want to wipe your mouth? That could potentially lose you 10 seconds. Why just keep dribbling away?
for those who listening, or if watching, one of the guys doing the time trial just basically had, spit and all kinds of things just dangling from his face. It wasn't very pleasant at all. But the camera guy following just kept zooming into his face with all of this spit and slobber dropping out of his face. But they were talking about it quite a lot, and I guess in time trialing is that's definitely where you know that if you cross the line, you have to cross the line just as you're about to bonk, right? You kind of blow up literally 20 meters down the road after you've passed the line. But how they do it, you could see it in their face. They're just constantly managing that line between, going too deep into the red and I just
it is fascinating. And the other thing is it's the mental side as well. So I mean, controlling what's happening with your body, that's one thing. Understanding what your body will do and what it won't do in various temperatures, various humidities, how your body will react to all of the nutrition that you're putting in those different temperatures. That's something that really separates a professional from a good amateur. But the other thing is, before we came on, Natalie and I were just having just a chat and a chinwag, and Natalie was just saying to me that tomorrow evening is basically it's your first 5K race in a while, is it?
Post-pregnancy, yeah.
Post-pregnancy. So yeah, and we got little Lachlan now on the scene. Oh, very cute. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know.
Yeah.
Lachlan is 15 months.
15 months. I know. Yeah, doing great. Anyway, so less of that.
Oh, sorry.
Oh no. But no, it's one of those things that Natalie said. I've really got to get my head into this, and I'm going. Well, I did a 5K once, and I didn't really have to get my head into that. And then Natalie turned around and said, "Yes, but your time won't have started with the 19."
Wow.
So, Natalie, what do you do to get your head into that space? What do you have to prepare for?
So when I was training, when I was Commonwealth Games, one thing I used was affirmations. So writing down, because I struggle with self-confidence, I wrote down all these positive thoughts, and I would just read them and read them and read them, and go, no, actually, I can do this. I've earned my spot, therefore I can do it, and I want to make my country proud. And that's all that went through my head when I was racing, was just like, come on, just give it all, give it your all, give it your all, give it your all, give it your all. But I don't know how I'm going to get around this race for tomorrow night. I've got no idea. Got Lachlan to distract me. Yeah, I think on the 45-minute drive, I think that's when I'll have my 45-minute intense. I've got to give this all and run 5K. I've not told anybody this, but I'm trying to beat my PB. Oh God, such
it's out there now.
Ambitious. I'm trying to beat my PB.
What's your PB for 5K?
18:37. But
what? That's on a bike, right?
Yeah, on a bike with a trailer.
Yeah, with the baby in the back.
Yeah, no. So, but I did that back in 2014. I got close. 2019, I got close. So, but because I've been training myself, self-coached, I don't really know where I'm sitting. So I'm kind of like, well, I'm going to give this my all, but also use it as a benchmark that, okay, I've done quite well, but I'm going to go away not disappointed with myself, because I'm a different person to who I was in 2019. Or even 2014 as well.
It's funny, isn't it? You with any sport, there's the physical side of things. So that's all your kind of prep and training and all that kind of stuff. But the mental side of things, and I guess that's been quite a hot topic this week in the Olympics as well, with Simone Biles and stuff, is just as important. And if you're not in the right headspace, or you don't have the confidence in your capability, and I guess these top athletes just think, I am the best in the world, I'm going to win, and that gives you that extra 10% or whatever it might be.
Yeah, well, you look at the case of Yolanda Neff in the mountain bike. Just her confidence on it, she just makes... she could give some of the boys a good run for money.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Should we chat mountain bike?
Let's chat mountain bike, yes.
Honestly, mate,
No, not at all.
Yeah.
No, not at all. I know,
No,
because you're amazing. You're amazing mountain biker as well. You were saying so.
Well, not amazing. Not amazing. No, I did a duathlon once.
No, I wasn't talking about you.
Oh no,
I was talking
Natalie.
about Natalie.
Oh yeah. No, Natalie is flipping heck. Yeah.
Used to be. My confidence since I came off my bike. That's kind of what ended my career. I've kind of not got that same confidence. But I know I was out with the Criterium boys 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And some of the stuff I know I can ride, and like coming down Spooky Wood and the first drop, I was like, nope, not for me. But then by the end of it, one of the drops you can't avoid it. There's no chicken run. So I just went down. I was like, oh, I was kind of annoyed with myself because I know that I can do it. But yeah, that's just. And then I've got to think, well, I've got all these stressors, like, I've got Lachlan, and I can't fall off and hurt my shoulder again, because then I'll be a one-armed mummy, and that's no good, because, how can you chase a toddler around with one arm?
I know.
I
It's
think
all these things, isn't it?
That's just called getting older and
No,
realizing.
no, don't tell me that.
You don't fix. You don't mend as quickly.
No, you don't.
But I mean, I watched the highlights of the guys, the men's race. Obviously, we kind of had a gold in that, and the combination of, I think for me that's what stood out, and because I know, Paul, you watched quite a bit of cross country mountain biking.
Yeah.
I hadn't watched that much, but watched it on purpose because you told me to, pretty much.
Yeah.
And it's the combination for me of unbelievable fitness, because you can just see it when they're going up hills. It's just lung busting fitness.
Yeah.
The technical skill on the climbing and the really kind of boulders and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
And then on the other side, when you're coming down the hill, the confidence and the skill, the jumps, the bike handling, it's just unbelievable.
Yeah, and the thing that I think the most important thing when anybody's looking at the mountain biking and going, I can do that, just automatically know, no, you can't.
Yeah. the TV doesn't show the incline.
No.
It doesn't show how steep it is. Doesn't show the height of the drop.
No.
Just
no. Because what you've also got to bear in mind is the type of bike that they're on. That they are on a full cross-country machine. So if you look at the guys who were riding Trek, so in the men's you had Anton Cooper, in the ladies you had Yolanda Neff, who won gold. She was racing for Switzerland, and she's a wonderful person, but also an absolutely incredible rider. And then you also had Team GB's Evie Richards in the ladies as well, who was doing absolutely phenomenal in the first 4 laps, and then just I don't know what happened to her.
I don't know.
No, I don't know if she blew up or what have you, but she was just doing absolutely phenomenal, and all three of those, Anton Cooper, Yolanda Neff, and Eva Richards, they were riding Trek Super Caliber, which is just 100 millimeters of suspension on the front and 60 millimeters, and those bikes on the rear, and those bikes are alloy road bike light, but the geometries are incredibly steep, because that's what gives you the performance on the climbs, makes them very agile. But the way, if anybody saw Yolanda Neff, one rider came off the big drop in front of her, hesitated, decided to roll down the ramp, but Yolanda, because of her technical skill, had already got the entry speed to jump the rock drop.
Yeah.
But the other girl in front of her was clearly in the way. So Yolanda had to take evasive action, went off the side, landed the bike on a front wheel, and how the heck she didn't pivot over the front end and call it a day. She collected the bike, got herself going without stopping clearly, but just kept going. And then on the same lap, the person who got in a way on the rock climb, it was hysterical on the rock climb, just took her on the inside, and the French rider basically just slipped off the side of the trail. It was the equivalent of Natalie dunking in the triathlon. It was just the most sensational race. I actually thoroughly enjoyed the ladies actually a lot more than the men's race. It was brilliant.
Mm. But no, it's just incredible because I know, you there's a lot of, or our guy who won gold had done. Yeah. He was on the road last year, run the Tour de France.
Yes,
last year or the year before, we raced in the Tour de France. And they've done a lot of prep in a heat tent in his back garden on a turbo trainer, like, just to get himself.
Yes,
I just find it amazing. But I looked at that and I was exhausted after about 30 seconds of watching that, to be honest.
Yeah, they're just incredible.
It's having the fitness and the skill to not only maintain it up the hill but also down the hill. So they're never like the course in Tokyo. There was nowhere for them to recover. They were always having an hour and a half of just being on for the whole hour and a half, which must be so mentally draining.
Would that be? This is so. If we were to categorize the top 3 most physically demanding, knackering cycling disciplines, what would the top? And that it can be on road, off road, inside, outside, doesn't matter. What do we reckon the top 3 would be? Would cross country mountain biking be number 1?
I would say so. Yeah, because it's as you say, it's an hour and a half of pure suffering.
Yeah. Suffering from the physical suffering, but also mental suffering, because if you switch off, that's when mistake happens.
Yeah.
Because it's very difficult because you've also got downhill, which is only 5 minutes on average, but that's basically 5 minutes of VO2 max, isn't it? Yeah. So it's all very different. So you've got effectively things like your tour riding. So you've got your grand tours, that's 3 weeks, kind of 3,000 miles, 2,000 miles of anything between aerobic, anaerobic, and a little bit of VO2 max, but over massive distances and massive time. You've then got cross-country mountain biking, which is effectively an hour and a half of at least anaerobic. You've then got downhill of 5 minutes of almost VO2 max, because they're just on it. You've then got track cycling. I mean,
like the team pursuit or something. Or I guess the big one would have been the kilo. I know they don't really do the kilo. Well, it's not an Olympic discipline anymore, is it? The 1,000 kilometers, 1,000 meters rather. Oh, Chris Hoy's that always looked horrific.
Yeah, but these guys are just amazing, aren't they? Everybody under every discipline. In fact, even the longest lap is hard. Doing a track stand for about a minute.
That's true.
So
the one, but even BMX. So you think BMX is, but that's proper hardcore, isn't it? In terms of power.
Yes.
The power that they're putting through out the gate and stuff is
because that's a full body workout as well. So that's upper body. Yeah.
As well as pedaling your bike at the same time.
Yes.
So basically, I think actually watching these guys, I reckon you burn quite a lot of calories watching the Olympics. So I think that's kind of a bit like going out on your bike, really.
I think Natalie would strongly disagree with you. In fact, I have only ever been out with Natalie on a run bike. Sorry, on a bike run, wasn't it?
Yeah, it was,
I did it once.
He's never asked me again.
I've never asked again because we went. I was training for London Duathlon, so I said to Natalie, I said, "Oh, would you mind doing a bit with me?" Yeah, absolutely. That would be absolutely great. Yeah, I'd love to. So went out on the bike. I think we did about a 45 to 50k bike, and then you say, right, okay, I've got a 7k trail run to do, 8k trail run to do afterwards. So we went out and did.
Sounds horrible.
We went out on
good fun.
You had fun. So we went out on the bike, and I'm a relatively strong cyclist, and I was relatively fit at that point. So when I was out on the bike and we were chatting away as we were going round, we were doing a fairly healthy pace. I was actually quietly confident. I was thinking, oh, I'm holding my own here. This is all right. And we're riding together and having a nice time in the local Scottish hills and
Midlothian countryside.
in Midlothian countryside. And then we got back to Keith and Natalie's house, where we then immediately transitioned to the feet. And it was at that point that I realised my backside was clearly handed to me. When Natalie just basically went out of the starting gates like a scolded rabbit. And my calves just immediately just went boing, and that was it. I mean, it was just that ability to be able to ride the pace, the distance, and the energy in the cycle, but then immediately get onto the feet and just on it. It was just a very humbling experience, let's put it that way.
It was just a steady run.
Yeah, that's the thing. It was just a steady run.
I mean, it was quite hard. To be fair, it was quite hilly, but it was just a steady run.
There you go.
Paul.
I mean, one of the things, because we often talk on this on the podcast about trying to encourage people to do stuff. So be that we've chatted in the past about people doing sportifs and aiming at doing 20 miles or 50 miles or maybe 100 miles on a bike. One of the things I would say to people is, if they haven't had a go at doing a triathlon,
do it.
Because I think when you watch them on the telly, I think it looks quite intimidating and scary and you think, I could never do that. But if you do a little sprint triathlon, because the Olympic distance one, which is, a mile swim and a 40k bike and a 10k run, that's a long way. But they do sprint ones that are far more.
You get super sprints as well. So it's like,
so I did one
swim, 10k
I did one
bike, and a 2.5k run.
I've got a great story. So my brother-in-law invited me to do a sprint triathlon up in Nantwich in Cheshire a few years ago. And it was dead because it was the same weekend as Goodwood Revival. So I actually forewent going to Goodwood Revival to do this sprint triathlon.
Wow.
And I rocked up at the house and I was, got my bike out or got my stuff out, and I had a bottle of wine in my hand. And he's like, "What's that?" I said, "Oh, I can't come to your house and not have a bottle of wine." He said, "Yeah, but we're doing a triathlon tomorrow." I said, "Yeah, but we'll be all right." So anyway, this was like lunchtime of the day before, and we had to go and pre-register the day before. So we had to go and take our bikes down and stuff. And he said, "Well, we'll go down to the leisure centre," because it was a swim in a pool, and then it was a sprint one. So I think it was about 500 meters in the pool, and then 20k on a bike and a 5k run, I think it was. So we said, "Well, we'll take our bikes down, we'll get signed in and stuff, and then we can go for a swim." So I got down there and I said, "Look, I'm sorry, Nigel, but I'm not leaving my carbon fibre bike outside the leisure centre because I've not got a lock." So we went down, signed in. I said, "So what? Let's go on. There's a pub over there. Why don't we just go and have a quick, a quick bit of refreshment?" So anyway, 4 pints later, we're in this pub garden, and then we went back to the house for a barbecue and probably did about a bottle of wine each. And we were in the pool at 7:30 the next morning for this triathlon. It was hysterical. I did really, really well. But Nigel's never spoke to me since because he was in a world of hurts all the way around. So that wasn't the best preparation, really.
It was for you, but not for Nigel.
No, we are athletes. But on a serious note, the to do a triathlon, you don't need to have a road bike or a triathlon, a kind of a time trial bike or anything. On that event, there were people doing it on hybrids and all kinds of things, and it was just having a nice swim, a bit of a cycle and a run, and I think they're brilliant fun. But also it's that you do need to practice going from. The bit I found hard was getting off the bike and going running.
Yes,
because your legs are like, what? The first time you do it, you're like, what are you doing? I've just been on the bike and now you want me to run? Are you mad? You're like,
Yeah, and it's and that's where the brick training comes in, isn't it? It's just training the body just to basically change muscle groups as much as anything.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, I did London Duathlon in 2014, which was a 10K run, 77K on the bike with a 5K run at the end.
Oh,
Yes. And what was interesting, because
that's
Rich,
deeply unpleasant.
yeah, do you know, that is how I would describe it as well. It was
Just the
deeply
thought of
unpleasant.
it's making me go, no thanks.
Yeah. So
It's the run at the end.
Yeah, well, what was interesting was that Richard and I did this together, my brother, and because he is a runner and I'm more of a cyclist, we thought, well, I tell you what, why don't we do it together, run our own race and cycle our own race and just see how we get going?
Yeah.
Well, the first 10K that that Richard did, he was so much quicker than me. He was like 8-10 minutes faster than I was. So I thought, I've got to get him on the bike. That
Yeah.
it has to be. And I'd just out of the gates just launched it, and some of the sort of corners, because it was at Richmond Park, so some of the braking zones into some 90-degree rights, it was sketchy. It was really sketchy. And then by the third lap, because it was 4 laps of Richmond Park, by the third lap on one of the dragging climbs, I could just see him ahead of me. And I thought, what I can't do, I've got to time this, because he's not a very confident descender and there was quite a long, steep hill on the other side. But what I can't do is I can't catch him on the hill, because that might give him the confidence to follow my wheel on the way back down again. So I held back and held back and held back. And about 100 meters from the summit, I just gunned it. So I went past him and went down the hill. So there was no way he was going to catch me. And I just managed to so that was on the third lap, finished the fourth lap, transitioned into the 5K run. And after an hour and 38 minutes of racing, in inverted commas, we were 30.
Natalie's face.
Yeah,
racing.
We were 35 seconds apart.
Wow, that's good.
Yeah, so it was incredible. Just two different, let's call it specialists. It's not specialists, but you've got a runner and you've got a cyclist that can finish the same distance within 35 seconds of each other, but have totally different times on each discipline.
Yeah.
Who won?
That's cool.
That will be me.
Have you not done it again since 2014?
No.
You're not?
No,
because he wants to just maintain being the winner.
No, well, we were going to do it, but I just flipping hate running.
So I got invited with Dino, my mate, to do it was like a duathlon, but it was a run, a cross country run, a mountain bike, and a kayak.
Right. That sounds fun.
It was quite fun. So we had this big debate about, what trainers should I wear? Because, do I change my trainers? Because what if they get wet? Anyway, we started off in this car park. We started the run, 5K run. We ran out the car park and within literally 50 yards had to run through a puddle that was waist deep.
Really?
Right? So it was like, the bit that the friend of Dino's that had invited us forgot to say was it was a bit like one of them tough guy things. So we're wading through this water, up to our waist. So instantly didn't have to worry about getting my feet wet because they were soaking. Did the 5K run, which was nails. Came back, got on the bike, and it was sandy and horrible. 20K bike.
Swore Figa in the feet.
It was bad.
Yeah.
Got off the bike, got into the boat, I think it was about a K around this lake in this bloody kayak, like the old Hawaii 5.0 kayak thing.
Yeah.
Came off and I'm like, oh my God, thank God that's done. And then Dino's mate went, yeah, but that's just the first lap. We've got to do it again. And he hadn't told us it was 2 lots of that. And then the run had like a bloody wall that we had to go over with scrim netting us. It was horrendous. It was good fun when we finished, but it was like, thanks for letting us know it was 2 runs and 2 bikes. Shit. But anyway, but yeah. But I just go for it, dude.
So you had sand going
Yes.
into wet feet.
It was horrible.
That sounds
It was just
Yeah, but on the second lap, you
horrible.
can then wash it out in that big muddy puddle again.
Yeah, exactly.
No, you see, here you go. That's the elite athlete coming out. There's always a solution for the pain.
So it with your elite athlete hat on, you've already said you wouldn't do an an Ironman.
I've done a
Would
half.
you do a 70.2? Is it 70? The half
70.3.
half
I have
Ironman?
done one.
70.3.
And
Really?
yeah,
I'd quite fancy doing one of those because
I
the
mean,
swim's only 1,900 meters. Isn't it?
yeah, it is. So the one I did was Aberfeldy, which was 20 something or other, 2015. So, but because it was on Loch Tay, the swim got cut short to I think it was 750 meters, just because it was so cold. They have with triathlon, they have cut-off times, like cut-off limits, that if the water's too cold, we can't swim any further than such and such. But the bike, you go up near Schiehallion, you go around Loch Rannoch, and you come back up. And the bike was fine, and it was. I've never done one before, so I didn't know how to feel for it. So I just had like loads of bars and torque bars and gels and stuff. And being it was a different transition. So I'm used to, helmet off, shoes on as quick as you can, and out you go again. But with this, I completely forgot to pick up the packet of jelly babies that I had. So I started on the run, and I was like, oh no. Like I was getting overtaken by people that I knew that I could run faster than old men and stuff like that. And I was like, oh no. And it was an out and back. And for me, that's just dead boring because there's nobody, it's just out and back. There was nobody around. It's a country road. I got to halfway and there was a guy standing there with gels. And I was like, yes, give me some gels. And my mum and dad were there, and that kind of perked me up a bit. I got some gels down me. But by the time I'd finished, I think the gels eventually hit. But yeah, totally fueled wrong for that. I'd maybe do another one, but I'd need to do a bit more biking, I think.
Do it in a nice warm climate like Lanzarote or something, although that's quite hilly.
Well, Keith's talking about doing a 70.3 next year.
I would love to do one. I'd love to do an Ironman, but I just think
it's just
the training you need is just,
basically
as I said to Paul, I want to do the Ironman so I can get the tattoo on the back of my calf. Like,
you can get a 70.3 tattoo. Yeah.
Oh.
One of my friends has she's done a few Ironmans. she loves red, so that goes down well. But her driveway, monoblock, it has the M tattoo on her monoblock driveway. Yeah.
She sounds like my kind of girl. That's cool.
Yeah. So, no, you can definitely get 70.3 tattoo. I'm sure I've seen somebody with it.
Yeah, I think it's just one of those romantic visions. I remember sitting next to a guy at a Goodwood dinner years ago who'd just done the Marathon des Sables. Okay, and he was desperately trying to tell me that it was a good idea to do the Marathon des Sables. And when you're drunk, or have a few glasses of wine inside you, it sounds like an amazing idea. And then you start Googling what it is and how hard it is and how horrible it is, and then you think, actually, it's a really stupid idea.
Yes, it is. It is. But this comes from somebody who I don't think I could actually swim a width of my bath. I absolutely hate swimming.
It's not that bad. Once you get lessons, or I'm sure. Can you swim?
I can.
I mean, he's going to float, isn't he? Let's.
I could basically keep myself alive.
Just get some lessons and off you go.
Yeah.
I'll do
that on my next day off.
Yeah. I reckon there's a challenge here, don't you know?
Yeah, I think Paul Bowker should do a triathlon.
No, I'll tell you what we could do.
What?
We could do a relay. We could do a Cycle Sunday relay.
We could do. I'll do the swim for you.
Yeah, you do the swim.
Yeah, you do the swim.
I'll do the bike.
And I'll do the run.
Yeah, you do.
Like a Lambert.
Well, I can do the run as well. It's just if to do a long bike, I would need to do some training.
Well, actually, if we're going to do the sort of proper Cycle Sunday relay, then you do the swim, I'll do the bike, you do the run, and Pete can just drink.
There you go then, sorted.
Mate, I'm all over
All-
that. I'm an elite athlete when it comes to that. So we kind of get into the end of our time. So I mean, firstly, it's been ace just chatting about things and I guess getting behind the mindset of these amazing athletes at these events. But what are the events that we haven't yet seen that you're looking forward to from a, well, actually it doesn't have to be just cycling, but have you done any track cycling or does that float your boat, or are you mainly sort of an outdoor kind of guy?
No, I have done some velodrome, but not racing, just with our triathlon club a few years ago, and then when I was racing in France, the team that I was racing for, they went out to the velodrome in Bordeaux, which was pretty cool because what's his face, the Graham O'Brien was on this.
Oh wow!
Yeah, I was like, that's so cool. But yeah, I enjoy velodrome. Any bike ride I'll enjoy, but it's getting out to do a bike ride that's the issue.
You need to do that like Danny McCaskill with the little one in the trailer
well,
behind you.
We've looked at it.
Daddy daycare.
Yeah, we've looked at it, but bank balance says no. And they're so hard to come by because, well, as you guys know, it's just getting supplies for anything. It's just you can't. People in one supplier in Scotland, and you're not going to get any stock. So
no. I mean, especially if they had Campagnola group set. I mean, that would be like a nightmare.
It would.
So maybe next time I come up to Scotland, maybe we can. I'll watch you and Paul go out on a bike ride together. Because otherwise you'd destroy us. We could just sit on your wheel and you could give us a training session.
Well,
tell us when I've got my Ultra XR4 on the road. You'll have to tell me how to ride it properly.
Yeah, we can certainly go and do a lap of Glen Tress.
Stress.
I'll be on my e-bike. I'll be on the
No,
rail.
but that'll be the interesting thing is that we can have Natalie on her Trek Fuel EX 9.8, haven't you? You've got a really nice in Scottish colours. It's a full Project One bike. It's a really nice bit of kit. So we can have Natalie on her Fuel EX, us on our rails, and we'll then find out just how insignificant the motor is when you see her motor go.
Yeah. That was the thing that got me about the time trial. He said, so these guys, they basically just sit there and push out 400 to 450 watts for an hour. Like,
it's just getting in that zone. They just sit in that zone.
Yes.
And just, and they just train specifically, train in that zone. Just, And you're also preparing your mind that, okay, it's an hour of hurt and I'm going to sit in this for an hour and just, get your mind into it.
Love the way it's just so laissez-faire. It's just an hour of hurt. An hour of hurt that isn't just a little bit of I've got a stitch, or I'm a bit out of breath. It's like proper horrible.
Yep. I've endured childbirth. Nothing's compared to childbirth.
Oh right, okay. Give me an hour of hurt on a bike, no worries.
Exactly. That's why I'm like, tomorrow will be a breeze.
Yeah. You'll go out and knock a 14-minute 5K.
No, I wish.
I mean, you do watch these. I remember when I did a marathon in 2009, and then the next year we went and watched it, and you watch the pro athletes run past,
just so quick,
and you're like, I couldn't sprint that fast for 100 meters, and they're doing that for
2 hours.
For 2 hours.
Yeah,
well, the fact they can run a marathon in 2 hours is ridiculous.
You ever put a treadmill on at the speed that you run at? There was a video going about a guy running along. I don't know if you've seen the video.
Yeah.
He puts the treadmill up to like the world record pace and it just falls off.
Really?
Yeah. It just gets spat out the back.
Unbelievable.
Yeah.
Yes.
No. Olympic sport and elite athletes, they're amazing, and to be out there and to train and focus for that much time for that one event, and for the guys that walk away with a medal, I can't imagine how amazing that is, to be
Yeah,
honest.
yeah.
It's for us mere mortals, just completing an Olympic distance triathlon's cool.
Yes.
But for them to do it and to win, I just think so.
One thing we should quickly touch on is, some of them will set that's their goal. Then how do they then come down from that? If that makes sense. How do they deal with
what happens
next? What do you focus on now? Okay, I've become Olympic champion. What next? Which is a whole other episode.
Wow.
Yeah. No, it was interesting because I met or was with Chris Hoy a couple of weeks ago, and he talked a bit about that actually, in terms of the one thing he said was he knew that when he stopped cycling, that was going to be a big problem. So he actually started planning for it, 2, 3, 4 years before. And one of the things I found really interesting, when he won, what was the games before London? Beijing. His agent and everyone said, retire now. Now's the time. You've just become, multiple Olympic champion. Now's your time to kind of make the money, because you'll be too old for London. And he was like, yeah, but I really kind of want to do London. And most people told him to retire, apart from his agent, who said, no, if you want to do London, let's do London.
Right.
Because the risk was, if he did London and then didn't win, his time to capitalize on that success would have gone. Right. He wouldn't be the hot ticket in town. And I'd never thought of it that way.
No.
I mean, luckily for him, he got to London and was successful again, and was even more successful.
Yeah.
But I'd never really thought of it that way, is timing when you are going to stop. One question before we finish, because I'd love to know the answer to this, is, and it reminds me of I remember watching a thing about rugby, and it was a young lad who got his first cap for England rugby, and one of the things he said just stuck with me. He said he'd never had, even as a kid, an England rugby shirt, because he said right from when he first started playing rugby, I will only wear an England rugby shirt the day I get selected for England, and I walk out to Twickenham to play rugby for England.
Wow!
And I always thought that's so cool. I just want to know what it was like when you got selected to represent your country for the first time, and did you get like a kit bag with all the tracksuit and the gear in it? But what was it like just opening that and thinking, oh my days, look, there's my Scottish kit and there's my name on it. That must have been an amazing
unreal thing. Yeah, just to unreal that this all belongs to me, and I've earned this, and I'm going to go do my country proud.
And you did.
Yeah. And we've actually Natalie's done us some absolutely lovely picture frames, which has got one of her tri-suits, Team GB tri-suits in there, and also one of her race jerseys as well from the road races. And when you look at Natalie's tri-suit, it's basically, I couldn't actually get my left leg in the torso part of her tri-suit. Yes.
Yeah. Might have been quite stretchy though.
Yeah, it's quite stretchy.
Not that stretchy.
Well, guys, I hope you've enjoyed that. Natalie, please come back on the podcast again. You've been an absolute joy having you, and there's plenty more things we'd like to pick your brain about in terms of, I don't know, bike tech and kit selection for triathlon, or for the Olympic, not the kind of elite side of things. It'd be great to kind of know. Because we often say this bike's too much bike for me, but when you get to a certain level, you're probably wanting more and more out of your bike. Yeah. And I'd love to be that kind of person, to be honest.
Yeah, chat away about that, about earning your kit.
Yeah,
earning your kit.
Exactly.
Indeed.
Yes. Exactly. Yeah, or just getting a bike that's way beyond you, like I am.
No, not necessarily. But, one thing I was, for Lachlan, if he ever does want to do triathlon or cycling, he's going to be given not the worst bike, but he's not going to. You see kids turn up to races and they're on better bikes than what I have, and I have a Honda
SLR.
Thank you. Yeah. SLR with all the blings.
Yes.
But they've got better bikes than me, but they're like 14. I'm like, you're getting given the best bike at the age of 14. What are you going to get at the age of 18, 19, 20? Like, anyway, that's a whole nother podcast.
Yes.
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 So there we go. There's a great time to finish. I like you. You can come again because you segue into another podcast
Yeah,
for us.
really.
That's
Yeah.
amazing.
Coming up on
Yeah.
next week, we have.
Yeah.
I don't know if you do
Very
that.
good. So yeah,
We do now.
So Beth,
There you go then.
yeah. I mean, I guess next week we might chat about how we've got on in the track cycling and the and stuff, because that'll be, and the BMX,
Yeah.
that'll be next week. But
Yeah.
but for now, we'll draw this one to an end.
Yeah.
It's been amazing to kind of have a good old chat. We've only met once briefly when I was up at the shop earlier on in the year, and
Yes.
you were just about to go home. So
Yes.
we said hello briefly. So it's been lovely to meet you properly.
I get to book
And
all
good
in all
luck
your
tomorrow.
I get to book in all the Campag stuff that doesn't come.
Oh yes, yeah. Natalie is actually the person who books everything into into stock within the company. So she actually
Paul,
came.
this is for Peter.
Yeah. Absolutely. Yeah.
In my corner of the
Indeed.
shop,
Yeah.
with all my stuff.
Yeah.
It exists. I
And
say
it
it exists. It does.
Yes, yeah. So does my Trek. I've only got 3 pictures of it yet, though.
I know.
No, I've seen that too. It exists too.
Does it look lovely?
It does. It does.
Oh, good, excellent. I can't wait. So, guys, let's draw this one to a close. It's been a pleasure meeting you, and we'll speak again soon. Paul, a pleasure as always.
Indeed, my
But
friend.
it comes that kind of time at the end of the podcast where I say, I've been Pete Greaves.
I've been Paul Bowker.
In Natalie Stewart.
Yay!
Oh, there you go. What a pro. Anyway, guys, we'll see you on the next episode of the Cycle Sunday podcast. But you take care. Ride safe.
Ride safe, everyone.